Good morning, welcome back to Morning Live. Now, this week there have been a number of significant things happening in rugby in the last couple of days, and we've roped in one of the best rugby minds to help us understand these events better. Good morning, News 24 senior sport reporter Sibusiso Mjikeliso, and welcome to Sport on Morning Live.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Sbu, as we get into this interview, let's just start off about the news coming out of New Zealand of US equity firm Silverlake's buying a stake in the All Blacks. And I mean, is this a new way to generate more capital for the sport of rugby?
Yeah, look, private equity has made its way into rugby. We saw at the Six Nations have already sold 14.3% of their stake, which equates to about £353 million, or thereabouts. Those are the reported figures. The All Blacks are also, in talks to sell 12.5%, I believe, of the brand. So that does not mean they're selling the sport or shares in the sport. It just means the commercial rights, broadcasts, and everything commercially related to the All Blacks is then going to be put in a pool that can be commercialized by these investors as well as the All Blacks brand themselves. So it's almost like creating a private commercial company which you can leverage the All Black brand, the way it plays, and all the commercial associations that the All Blacks have into that brand. SA Rugby, I have it in good confidence. They are very close to a deal of similar nature, but they want to make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted before that goes ahead.
And it will be interesting to see what happens there in terms of SA Rugby. But let's talk more about New Zealand. I mean, Silverlake is no stranger to having a stake in sporting teams. We know they have a minority stake in Manchester City as well as the New York Knicks. Was this perhaps something that played a role in relaxing that initial opposition to the deal?
I wouldn't say so much that. I think rugby in itself is kind of has been fishing about for private equity investors for a number of years now, especially, when you look at the Southern Hemisphere economy, it's not as strong in rugby terms as the Northern Hemisphere. England, France, even Japan boss, larger rugby markets in terms of commercial pool, which is why you see a lot of players, New Zealand, Australian, and South African players, leave their native countries to go play in these countries that I've mentioned. So I don't think it's so much Silverlake and their past investment, because it could have been Silverlake, could have been CBC, could have been John Doe. They just want to partner with private equity investors who are going to bring in a large enough chunk, take a small enough shareholding percentage to keep rugby in rugby's hands, but also then use and leverage the other investments that they have, the Americanism, if I can put it that way, of commercial deals to then boost those brands even further, to boost rugby's commercial appeal a whole lot further.
Understood. Now, Sibusiso, there is another element I want us to talk about, and it's particularly in relation to Eben Etzebeth and him leaving Toulon, coming back to South Africa, not doing a typical Buyele Kaya, not signing with the troubled Western Cape, but rather the Sharks. What is your take on this move?
For the Sharks, it's an absolutely brilliant move. I mean, I think Etienne Finn, the Sharks character coach, put it perfectly when he said it's a great coup for them, because that's exactly what it is. You're getting a World Cup winning Springbok. He's closing in on 100 test caps. He's filling a gap in the pack that has been light over the years. And he's going to come in, is a definite starter in the URC team. He's going to come in at number 4 lock. And your Sharks team has now got the picture of a Springbok, almost full Springbok team, with Siya Kolisi there, with the front row of Oxenche, Bongi, Mbonambi, as well as Thomas Tutoy, with guys such as Kumbuzo Noche, who's a Springbok himself. So, and then obviously the backline of Mapimpi, Lukhanyo Am, Apelele Fasi, Nkosi, all those guys. So that really means that the Sharks could be a copy and paste of a Springbok team, which is a scary prospect for a lot of the domestic teams like the Bulls, Stormers, and the Lions. But it also means that they're now under pressure to make a real go of the URC. I know that the CEO, Edward Kutsia, really wants to have a go at winning the URC, and they have goals of participating in and winning the Heineken Cup, which is the European Cup competition involving English, Celtic nations, French teams, Italian teams all together in one, almost like the Champions League of rugby. So this is a massive step towards that. And Eztebeth has signed a 5-year deal, meaning that he wants to see out his best years at the Shark Tank. I mean, he's 30 now. He'll be 35 by the end of this deal. If he's in any condition as a guy like Dwayne Vermeulen, he's going to give the Sharks some very good years. They will be very happy with this deal. And I think the Sharks as a brand, as a product, with fans coming back, a signing like this is a massive statement. To build on the signings of Siya this time last year, in January last year, they got Siya Kolisi. December last year, they got Bongi Mbonambi. The deal was signed earlier, of course, but he got to play his first game in December. And now you're talking Eben Etzebeth. It's huge. It's huge for that brand.
And Sibusiso, just as I wrap up with you, it seems like mindset over numbers appears to be the way to go when it comes to transformation in South Africa. We've seen a man you've mentioned now, Edward Kutsia, what he's done at the Sharks, Jake White with the Bulls. But in general, do you think the mindsets in South African rugby when it comes to transformation is correct? And do coaches actually realize the value that comes with transformation?
I think there's still some way to go. As far as transformation in rugby is concerned. If you look at the URC teams, for instance, they're still lacking a head coach who is black. And until you have a black franchise coach regularly under the scrutiny of having to make the team win, you're going to struggle to have black Springbok coaches. So I think it starts with having people inside, and a lot of ground has been made. We've seen a lot of people in those unions get promotions, get the chance to show their wares. In the Currie Cup layer, for instance, Nkosi, head coach of the Currie Cup Lions team, Etienne Finn, head coach of the Sharks Currie Cup team, Jerome Parvate as well, Western Province Currie Cup coach. Those are great opportunities for those people that I've mentioned to show their ways. But the feeling for me is that it's not enough because Currie Cup level is not going to give you a chance at coaching the Springboks. So you're almost a level below where you should be. I think for me, what we need is more black people in directors of rugby positions. We just saw now Neil Powell get a director of rugby position at the Sharks. Not begrudging Neil Powell at all. I think he's done a brilliant job with the Sevens team. Perhaps the greatest Sevens coach we've had, picking up from Paul True and turn that side.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you there. We have unfortunately run out of time. Perhaps we'll have another opportunity to pick up this conversation. But thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
That is Sibusiso Mjikeliso, News 24 senior sports journalist, just talking all things rugby in South Africa. That's how we wrap up your sports bulletin in this hour. Time now for an ad break.